Still, it has been more than 4 months since I nominated Loretta Lynch to serve as Attorney General. And this time, Republican leaders in Congress won't even let her nomination come up for a vote. In fact, by Monday, Loretta will have been languishing on the Senate floor for longer than the 7 previous Attorney Generals combined.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, there's a new poll out. And in this new poll, it shows that it's a Rasmussen poll. Only 33% of Americans favor the confirmation of Loretta Lynch. And so while a majority are undecided, still in all, they're in no hurry. The American public, we're in no hurry to have her confirmed. But the Obama administration and his surrogates consider it and are implying that it's outright racism. Joining us now is Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson, president of BOND, Brotherhood Organization of a New Destiny, syndicated radio host, and author of Scam, How the Black Leadership Exploits Black America. Reverend, great to talk to you. So, you know, Dick Durbin says that the Republicans have put Loretta Lynch in the back of the bus.
You know, this is just another attempt to intimidate Republicans by calling them racist. It can't be anything else but racism, because these people know that white Americans, especially the white Republican representatives, are afraid of that word. So they're just using that in order to manipulate them. And this time, I hope that the Republicans do not give into that. I hope they won't fall for this trick this time. And I am very concerned about Loretta Lynch. I think that she would make Eric Holder look like an angel. And the fact that Barack Obama is nominating this woman for that Attorney General role is not a good thing. So I'm glad that they're taking their time and doing it the right way.
All right. Now I want to switch to a piece that you wrote. Let's talk about black racism. And I know you've gotten a lot of response to that column that you wrote. And let's talk about it. You start out by talking about what Starbucks was doing. I think they stopped that. Let's have a conversation about race, and how a lot of blacks were uncomfortable that a white-owned business was starting a conversation about race. But you go on to talk about, how black racism has never been really examined by the black community.
That's right. You know, we can talk about racism until the cows come home, and we've been talking about it for the last 50 to 60 years, but it's been one-sided story. We've talked about white racism to a point that white Americans now are afraid to even think about racism. But what we have not dealt with is black racism. And I have to tell you, Steve, not all, but most black Americans are racist toward white Americans, to a point that they have become like what they hate. They have been complaining about the KKK and Jim Crow laws. And now you see some of them doing exactly to white Americans what they claim was done to them. They're knocking out, they're knocking out white Americans. They're killing them in some cases. They're accusing them. They're robbing them. They are doing exactly what they have accused white Americans of done in the past. And it's not going to ever change, Steve, until we talk about black racism. That's where the problem is.
Reverend, has it become acceptable in the black community?
100% acceptable. As a matter of fact, if you don't agree with them about white Americans hating them or discriminating against them, you become a sellout. You become an Uncle Tom. You become an enemy of the black community. But if you go along with this idea that it's okay for black people to discriminate against white folks, it's not the black people's fault, it's white folks' fault. As long as you are blaming someone else and treating white Americans in a horrible way, you are part of the community.
All right, you say, that most black Americans are racist towards white Americans. Then you go on to cite, we're knocking them out, killing them, blah, blah. Now, of course, that's a very, very small percentage of black Americans that are knocking out whites literally and killing them and attacking them. So in what way do you know or think, or what makes you believe that those who are not participating in violence against whites are nonetheless racist?
Well, one thing I've noticed that when it happens to white people, when blacks do it to whites, commit violent crimes against them, there is no outcry from the black community about it at all. Secondly, they voted for Barack Obama twice because he's black. We have the Black Congressional Caucus because they are black, not because they lack moral character, but not because they are good people. It's because they are black. And if you had majority white Americans voting for a person of the white race simply because they're white, that would be called racism. But in the black community, it's accepted as the right thing to do, and it's not racist, but it's not true.
And what would a conversation about this sound like? How do we change this? Does it start with the youth?
It starts with the adults and the youth, because the youth have become like the adults. They have passed their racism down to the next generation. What we have to do is get black Americans to realize that they're very angry, and that they've been made to be angry by their black leadership, who have told them that white Americans are against them and that white folks are trying to hold them back. And if we can get them to drop that anger, they would be able to see that white folks are not waking up every morning and trying to figure out at the breakfast table how to hold the Negroes down. White folks have their own problems that they're dealing with in their families and things like that.
Right.
But black Americans, for the most part, are a unforgiving people. They got to learn to forgive.
Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson, thank you, sir, as always. All right, folks, up next, the Malzberg panel. But first, the kamikaze attack on the USS Missouri. Let's take a look back at that with this hour's American Moment.